how to use the det particle in Japanese. So the det particle is another particle in Japanese that has a lot of different ways of using it. The two most general ways that the det particle is used is either to express the means of an action, like by or with, or to mark the place an action occurs, like at. It's like marking something with an X. X marks the spot. That's what something is done with, or that's where something occurs. So like for example, 学校で at school. That's where something's going to occur, at school. Or 箸で with chopsticks. So you're X marking the spot what you did an action with or by, you did it by or with chopsticks. Or even what something is made by. 木で作られた was made by wood. Or how did you go somewhere? You went by car. 車で行った. So as you can see, the translation can be quite different based on the use. It could be at or by or even with. But generally speaking, the det particle marks the means or the place of action. So like for example here, selling something at school. 学校で売る.
この学校で売っているのか。あの時の焼きそばパンが。エロ、夕ご飯食べるでしょ。作っておくわね。学校でそういう話はやめてよ。
Or let's say, for example, you're doing an action at a specific location, like here to eat pudding at a place like this. So, こういう場所で at here, at this place, プリンを食べたい. I want to eat pudding.
こういう場所でプリンを食べたいよね.
And when the det particle is used after a noun that's an object rather than a place, then it's often used to express with that object. Like here, to eat a meal with chopsticks.
そもそも箸で食事する国もそう多くないだろうし。
Or to be stabbed with a knife.
お前、その包丁で刺されたんだろ?
Or it can even be used to express how you say something, like here, to say it in Japanese. 日本語で言う. So this use is a little bit trickier because it is technically the means in which you say something. You say it, and how do you say it? You say it in Japanese. However, the translation can be a little bit strange. It's not quite the same as with chopsticks you eat. With Japanese you speak, it sounds a little bit weird. So don't always rely on the translation in English, but instead focus on the function. Here the translation would be more like in more natural English, to say it in Japanese. But the function is expressing the means. How do you say something? You say it in Japanese, with Japanese. 日本語で言ってください.
何それ？日本語で言ってくださいよ。
Or for example, like here, to do something with each other. みんなで with everyone. So we're taking a bath with everyone. So what's the means of doing the action? We're doing it with everyone. The action is being done by everyone.
みんなで一緒にお風呂に入ろう。
And if you see it used after a clear object like a vehicle, like a car or a train, then you definitely know it's doing an action by that object. Like here, to go by train. 電車で行く.
ここから電車で行くと結構かかるし、乗り換えもめんどくせえし、今日は特別に俺の車で連れてってやるよ。行くぞ。
It can also be used following materials to mark how that was made by. So what it was made with, what material it was made with. Like here, for something to be made with wood. 木で作られている.
レナの構造物でも重要なものは特別な素材で作られる。
There are times where the det particle isn't so clearly marking whether it's the means or the place where something occurs, as it can also almost be used to express the reason, like here, due to sudden sickness. So it is kind of like the means, right? The means of why it happens is because of the sudden sickness. So like here, due to or by sudden illness, she couldn't come.
だけど、司会を頼んでた女の子が急病で来られなくなっちゃったみたいで。
Or like here, something changing shape with the change in temperature. So this is more like the reason, the cause of something, but also the means. So with the change in temperature, it changes in shape.
そうだよ。温度変化で形状が変わる金属だ。鍵はその材質で作られている。
You can even see the det particle used with time. Like when a certain point of period in time, you do an action. Like here, to get married at 20 years old. So it's a period of time, and this is when you do the action. Again, you can kind of see the X marks the spot. You're pointing at when you do the action. To get married at 18 years old.
私、 18歳で妊娠しちゃったシングルマザーでね。
This is different to the neat particle, which can also be used to mark when something happens. But the neat particle is more used in like the whole scope of time, and at this point, this is when the action occurs. Whereas the det particle is more like marking the final point in a period when that thing now occurs. So from here to here, this is the final point. So it has a kind of feeling of from now until then, and this is marking when the action will occur. So to get married at 20 years old. So like for example here, to get married, you're not going to get married at 18 or 19. 20 is the final point. That's when you get married. So it's almost like a time limit. That's the end point when you're going to get married.
スピラじゃねえ。早い人はすっごく結婚早いよ。
俺たちくらいの年で結婚するってこと？
Because of this, you will often see it used with verbs that have some sense of finality, some sense of things ending. Like here, it will end today. 本日で So at this point in time, today, 終了します。皆さん残念ですが、この番組は本日で終了します。
君たちの任務はこれで終了だ。
Or it will finish in 5 minutes. 5分で終わる。
お部屋のお片付けをさせてね。2分で終わるからいい？アリス。
But it doesn't always have to be used this way. Like here in Final Fantasy X, we actually see it used with the verb hajimeru, to begin. At this point, this is when he began playing Blitzball, 5歳で at 5 years old.
俺はあそこで生まれて5歳でブリッツボールを始めた。13歳でビサイドオーラカに入って10年戦士ってやつだな。
You can also use the det particle with periods of time, like here, in half a year. So that's the amount of time, the period of time that will pass. In half a year.
まあね。けど、たった半年ちょいでいろいろあったよね。
So like here, it's used to mark the period of time in which something can be created. We can create it in just 1 month.
たった1ヶ月で作成できるなんて、さすが先輩ですね。
Now just be careful when you're using the det particle with verbs like aru, as depending on the use of aru, whether it means to exist or whether it means to have or to occur, the particle you use with aru is actually different. For example, aru can be used to express that something is somewhere, like a bag is on the table. In that situation, you can't use the det particle. You need to use the neat particle to state the place where something exists. However, the verb aru can also just be used to express that something is happening, like something's occurring, like an event, or even that you have something, like you possess something. And in these situations, you would use the det particle to mark where that event occurred or where you have something. Like here, I have a job in 1985. So here, shigoto ga aru. I have. In this situation, you wouldn't use the neat particle to express where something exists. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't actually exist. It's more something you have. And so in this situation, you would use the det particle.
僕はこの1985年でやらねばならない仕事があるんだ。
So like for example here, there is something that I must do in these lands. So I have something I need to do.
私はこの地でやらねばならぬことがある。
Or like here in Final Fantasy XIII, expressing where an event happened. So there was an incident at the plant. So you can't use the neat particle here with aru because it's not expressing where something is. Instead, it's marking where an action occurred. There was an incident at the plant. So pranto de jiko ga atta.
これ、この前エイブリーデ峡谷のプラントで事故があってから、最高の連中、やけに気が立ってるだろう。
So it's really commonly used in this way with things like events, incidents, problems, that kind of thing. Like here, there was an incident in or at the girls' restroom.
女子トイレで事件があったろ。
なんです？急に。
Or even for things like meetings. Like here, there was a meeting at the town hall. So just be careful of the verb aru, as depending on how it's being used will change whether or not you should use the det particle to mark where that event occurred or where you have something, or the neat particle to mark where something is.
この間、町役場で会議があってね。
So as you can see, the det particle has many different ways of using it, and it is one of the most varied in uses of Japanese particles. However, there is a kind of common trend. It is often pointing, almost like X marks the spot, at where something happens, when something occurs, how something is made by, how you do an action, so by what means you do something, or X marking the reason why due to sudden illness, or even the time required to do something in half a year. But it's not always so easy to visualize it in this way, but it does work a lot of the time, so it definitely helps you kind of get a nice general feel for how to use this particle. It's definitely a very interesting particle with many different ways of using it. If you want to get a little bit more stronger feel of how to use the det particle, then feel free to check out my video where I look at some of the differences between the det and the neat particle, and how very similar sentences, if you use a different particle, it changes the whole feel of the sentence. Feel free to check out that video if you want to get a stronger feel for how to use these particles. So now I'm going to leave you with a quick review test of all of the different uses of the det particle that we've covered in this video. Feel free to pause the video and take it at your own pace, no need to rush anything, just take your time, do your best, and try and help reinforce some of the language that we've covered in this video. Good luck and have fun!
あの学校で何をしているんだ。
みんなで一緒にお風呂に入ろう。
お前その包丁で刺されたんだろ。
何それ、日本語で言ってくださいよ。
今日は特別に俺の車で連れてってやるよ。行くぞ。
女子トイレで事件があったろ。
なんです急に。
重要なものは特別な素材で作られる。
そうだよ。温度変化で形状が変わる金属だ。
私18歳で妊娠しちゃったシングルマザーでね。
お部屋のお片付けをさせてね。2分で終わるからいい？アリス。
俺はあそこで生まれて5歳でブリッツボールを始めた。
So thanks so much guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that I'm doing on this channel. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and if you really enjoyed these videos, then consider coming joining us on the Game Gengo Discord community. That is the only way I'm able to make these videos, is thanks to everyone's support. You can connect directly with me as well as the community, come hang out, chat about all bunch of stuff, as well as get help directly with your Japanese from both me and people in the community, as well as some native Japanese speakers. It's a very positive community where people are just really focused on just enjoying learning Japanese, as it's a very long journey, and so the most important thing is just to enjoy the ride. Thanks so much guys for watching. I really hope you're enjoying learning Japanese, and as always, I'll see you all again in the next video. See you guys.